Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, New Powerpuff Girls, Star Wars, The Force of Evil, and RWBY. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
Today, Delaney and I will be discussing Remembrance, the second episode of Volume 4 of RWBY. We cover RWBY every week here on the Overly Animated Podcast. You can check us out at overlyanimated.com or search for the Overly Animated Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or your other favorite podcatcher. Check out our episode 1 podcast on the premiere of Volume 4. Check out our Volume 3 podcast and our Volume 4 predictions, but we're going to get right into Remembrance, Delaney, not Remembrances. Did you know this episode was called Remembrance? That's a
No.
Yeah, that's it was not a clip show episode though, so that's good. We'll get right into Remembrance, spoilers for this episode and all previous episodes. Delaney, impressions of Remembrance.
It's fine. It's just, I don't know, what
How much remembrance do you have of the events of Remembrance?
I mean, it's fine. It's just, boring, and nothing really happened. I guess I kind of almost feel bad for Jaune. I almost care, 20% almost, we're getting there.
Getting into that already, yeah.
It was a little, I don't know, it was just weird and disjointed. I don't feel like it was a good idea to pair this Weiss stuff with this supposed to be emotionally stuff going on with RWBY and Jaune.
Made for a very somber episode overall.
Yeah, but the Weiss stuff wasn't even somber. It was just boring. So I don't even know.
Shots fired. Yeah.
It was fine. It was fine. It was okay.
Yeah,
Meh.
it was fine. It was okay. Yeah. It was. I think this is another competent yet unexciting episode, similar to how I felt about episode 1. I'll probably take this one over episode 1, but it's not.
I would too. Same.
It's not by a lot. I mean, these are both
2%.
Here's the thing, though. I'll take these 2 episodes over, in general, the first half of Volume 3.
Yes, same. Volume 3 was just why?
Yeah, I mean, Volume 3 got interesting at parts in the middle and stuff, but in general, I'll take kind of uninteresting exposition over uninteresting fight scenes.
Yes.
Okay, there. Yeah, so that's the positive. This was a half Weiss episode, which of course made me very happy.
Find Blake 2K16.
Again, we have 0 Blake and 0 Yang so far this season.
No.
Just 0.
0.
I assume we will see one of the 2 next week, but, not confirmed, so.
I feel like we're going to see more, there's more of them in the intro than there is probably in the entire season.
Well, there's 100% more of them in the intro so far than the rest.
Yes.
And then the rest of it is we see another Team Ranger scene. So, in general, the big thing with this episode, I think, is that this is the most beautifully animated episode of RWBY
Yes,
ever.
I agree.
Between
Gorgeous.
the Schnee Mansion scenes and the final scene with the John Pira recording with the fireflies, it was, super gorgeous. Everything, if you ignore, the plot, the production-wise, this episode is incredible, clearly.
Watch it on mute, and you're oh my god.
Well, no, because the music was good, too.
No, of course, the music's always good. I mean, that's, we don't even have, we're going to talk about the music every time we podcast, but, we don't even have
it's
to,
given,
it's so good.
Yeah.
Just always.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything was, any of the dialogue was explicitly awful. It was just kind of stale and tropey.
Yep.
Basically. I think that the Weiss stuff was pretty boring. I think I commend them figuring out a way to tie in something regarding the show's larger mythology to our Weiss catch-up scene. Bringing Ironwood in was a good idea.
Yes.
And I think that was probably the most interesting part of that scene. I mean, not really, because Weiss wasn't on the screen, so I wasn't happy. But yeah, it's tying Ironwood in was a really good idea. Props to Miles and Carrie. That's for once, that was a solid idea. And then the the Ranger side stuff. I mean, okay, the rest of the Weiss stuff side. I didn't really care about her brother or Butler,
Right.
We'll talk about them. They're interesting, but that was less exciting. And then on the Team Ranger side, the final scene was really well executed. I think like if we cared at all about Jaune, we'd really like that scene.
Right.
As it was fine. And then the rest of their stuff was pretty boring. I mean, we had a stereotypical.
It's like I understand that I'm supposed to care about Jaune. Like I can watch that scene. I'm like I'm supposed to feel something right now.
Absolutely.
But I don't care.
No. I mean, I don't know if you don't care, don't explicitly care, like more than
like it's fine. Like it was beautifully executed. It was fine. I almost felt bad for Jaune. I almost cared.
Yeah. So this is the main point of disagreement people are gonna have with us listening is that people like Jaune and people care about Jaune, and then it's unfortunate that maybe we need a big Jaune fan on here to counteract the opinions, but because that is the opinions of some people, that they like Jaune and they're probably going to like this stuff. I mean, I do think that everything with him this season has been fine. Like,
yes.
It's not like he's like been written horribly. It's just in the overall context of the show, it's frustrating because the show has been like hammering us being fans of the characters that they're not showing. And now we're expected to care about Jaune, who hasn't been, we're not supposed to care as much about previously, but now we are. It's disjointed in the overall context of the series. I will say it's not just us that is frustrated by this. There's certainly a lot of people. But we'll get more into this.
It's called RWBY for a reason, y'all.
It is called. It is called RWBY, and 2 of the characters haven't been on the season, so that's something. So we'll get into everything here. So I don't know where I want to start. We can start with the Weiss stuff. So I was very happy to see the continuation of Weiss. I did not expect a continuation. I don't think this is really like the same scene as last week, but it's the same plot moving. I'm glad that we spent about half the episode with Weiss. I think it was a little less than half because some of it was Ironwood, but that's a good thing. I only expected us to check in at the end with someone, but this was almost as good. That being said, where's Blake, where's Yang? So we'll see next episode. I'd expect a Blake check-in next episode, probably.
Please.
One would, if we're going in Team RWBY order, then she's next.
Right.
So, as one does go in Team RWBY order. So, we have Weiss walking through the Schnee mansion. The animation's gorgeous, and it's highlighted no more than through Weiss's character model, who confirmed Weiss is like incredibly gorgeous in this episode. Yep. Like, I mean, as Weiss's number one fan, like I'm very happy with this. Like, this is great character redesign, and she's like almost too perfect looking. I think like it's a little weird.
Yes.
So this is a little too much.
I don't know. Her brother looks like.
Yeah, so let's talk about Whitley, who's
he got the short end of the name stick.
You don't like Whitley?
I mean, we have Winter, Weiss, and Whitley. Like, he lost. Like they just gave up on him. They were like, eh.
What could he have been named? That would have been better.
Ooh, okay, you got me. I don't know now.
Yeah, so we have too early.
Boy names that start with W, or unisex names that start with W. I don't know.
Yeah, that wouldn't have came to mind. Of course, Weiss's. I had no idea what he was actually named at first because Weiss's VA pronounces everything really weird. I thought it was like Whitleyan, like it's like an N at the end, but no, right. Whitley. What are your impressions of Weiss's younger brother, Whitley?
Well, he made me like uncomfortable the entire time he was on screen. Like, I don't know, like the entire.
That's a little rude.
No, I just felt like the interaction was so weird. I don't mean like.
It was very formal and
it's not like uncomfortable, but I was just like, what is wrong with you the whole time? And of course, Weiss's reactions to him, like, you've changed, blah blah blah. I'm like, what is like? I don't understand. And it's so weird because they just introduce him. It's like, I didn't even know she had a brother. What? And then they have this really weird interaction, and he's just weird. So I don't know. Like, it was fine. And they've kind of set up, I guess we'll find out more. We'll see him more. Which, it's going to be cool if we're going to kind of explore Weiss's relationship with her family, which I guess that might be a theme of the season. Who knows? But it's cool, I guess. I don't know. He was weird. He just made me, like, on edge a little bit.
Yeah, he was already there. He was definitely supposed to be weird, but they also gave him super generic dialogue that kind of didn't make sense coming from him towards his sister, like the Winters, like just admire her resolve, stuff like that. So it just kind of threw it off even more. I think just
it's like Winter and Weiss like interacted kind of like siblings, and this is just like, who are you?
Yeah, I agree. Winter and Weiss's seemed natural, and this is supposed. I think it's supposed to seem weird coming from this guy, but
Yeah.
it's. I don't think creepy. I don't think it's supposed to be creepy, but maybe.
Well, I mean, it wasn't creepy. It was just like it just was weird. Like it just made me on edge.
So as someone with a younger brother, did this dynamic feel? Did you relate to this dynamic at all?
No, because it's like really weird. Me and my brother are more like different.
You sound like people, like
yeah, like we're like people.
Yeah. Okay. So
I don't know. Like this is just super weird.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just have to see more.
Any
also, his
Whitley
character
predictions?
design's kind of weird.
Yeah, he's very like
his legs are too long. Like,
I mean, the Schnee family is all kind of like
yeah.
Like I said, Weiss is very perfect looking, and I think Whitley is like a more creepy version of that. Yeah.
Yes.
Predictions for Whitley.
Oh, I'm just trying to figure out right now how old he is. Like, how old are you, child? Like, I don't know.
14.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I mean, Weiss is 18 now, and he's not old enough to go to, or I don't think everyone in this world goes to academies, so maybe
no. Well, the academies are just for hunters and huntresses.
Yeah, so it's not clear how the other schooling would work. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if impressions of him are very high, but
I don't think he's going to be a villain or anything. But something weird seems like it's going to happen with him.
Is he going to eventually be pro or anti Weiss? Like, let's say Weiss needs to break out. Is he going to help her or no?
Ooh, I don't know, because like he doesn't really like Winter, as we've established. But he seems to be cool with Weiss. But I don't know. I don't know. I could see him being like just siding with his dad more.
Yeah, we'll see. So there you go.
He seems like a suck up. Like,
yeah. He does. We learn a lot about Weiss's family. We, I don't know if we had explicit confirmation she had a mother until this episode, and the only thing we hear about the mother is that she's drinking. Yeah, so
nice.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, and we see the family portrait with the 5 of them, right?
Yeah.
The 5. Yeah, so there you go. Now we have Weiss's whole family. So yeah, we'll talk about the continuing scenes. Let's go in episode order, I guess. So the RWBY dreams thing. So we transition with RWBY kind of having a dream of Pyrrha's voice. She's like, here's Pyrrha dying again. And
this is a vast improvement over us having weird transitions that are just black screens. This is so much better. Yeah. Like, thank God.
I actually think this is the best part of the episode narrative-wise.
So cool.
Like, it's really interesting the way they do this. Like, the way it comes off to me, and it's kind of ambiguous, I guess, is this happens twice. The first time is RWBY's just having a dream of Pyrrha dying, like, as a nightmare, like, reliving that experience. But then the second time, she's kind of also still having a similar dream, but then she wakes up to actually hearing Pyrrha's voice, like, in the recording from Jaune. So, like, which is, like, a super interesting transition. It, like, works for RWBY's character. It, like, works for the scene they're presenting.
Well, I was kind of taking it too because of the screen, like how the way the screen was looking. Again, vast improvement over just black screens. I think this might be something related to RWBY, like the gray eye thing. Like I was kind of not necessarily visions, but if she's,
sure. I mean,
so I think, like I meant like this might, I don't know. Like, I mean, it worked narratively, but I think it's like...
So you think she's like, like in the mythology of the show, she's like having the visions because of her
yeah, I think there's
powers.
something, it's just, there's something going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible, sure. I think either way, it's like a RWBY character moment. I mean, they can go
No, I just meant
they
like...
can go anywhere.
But...
They can go. If you could say anything involving RWBY's gray eyes, and I'd be like, yeah, that's possible. Yeah. Like you could say nothing, that would be impossible. With that.
We'll just have to see if there'll be more of this. I don't know if this is just a one-off thing.
Yeah. We'll see if this is a continuing thing, whether she's having these nightmares. That's a good point. In terms of how they function in this episode, though, it's like the only thing that stands out to me is like any sort of advanced narrative. So I was pretty happy to see that. So our Team Juniper scene, we have 2 parts of this first scene. We have the first part is them talking about Jaune and his 7 sisters at his childhood again, which we'd heard about earlier in the series. First of our 3 asks, this is from patron Andy. He says, can Miles and Carrie stop it with that 7 sisters joke? That has to be the worst one in the rotation. So let me try, I guess, explain where this is why this is annoying, at least for me. I don't want to speak for anyone, but the way they play this off with Jaune always is like 7 sisters. Oh, that explains why you're like not masculine and why you're like exhibit these feminine traits, which is incredibly annoying from a feminist
Yes.
perspective. Let's not make jokes about espousing gender roles like that and gender traits.
This is ultimately why we hate Jaune, because he is like the embodiment of this in the show. So it's super annoying.
This is like a reason to like Jaune is because he's not like super masculine.
Yes,
but he needs to like justify it, which is
the reason is like they literally use it to make jokes about it constantly. Like they made him like this so they can mock him, and it's so irritating.
It's very irritating because
like if they didn't do this, Jaune would be great. But no, they keep doing it. And I'm like, I'm so irritated.
Let's not go crazy.
Okay,
but
yeah, that's true.
there would be
slightly like better.
Yeah. So this isn't something that should be mocked about Jaune. It's annoying that everyone is mocking him. I don't think RWBY's. I don't think RWBY is really. I'll defend RWBY, but it's not something that needs to be justified. There's no reason that Seven Sisters.
It's just so
people,
annoying.
This is annoying from a male perspective. Like needing the male hero to exhibit masculine traits and have to defend not exhibiting it. That's pretty awful from my perspective, and I hate stuff like that like a lot. I don't think this episode did that. It wasn't doing that to a large extent. If you wanted to isolate this, just the scene, you could argue that that's not what they're doing. In the larger context of Jaune, I think it's clearly what they're doing. But yeah, so at the very least, if you want to say something positive from this, Jaune was like, I was fine with them braiding my hair, but I wanted like the warrior's wolf tail. Like, right, I guess that's fine, So, whatever. I like that Jaune has 7 sisters. I don't like how they use it in the show.
Yeah, it's so annoying. Just stop. It's not cool. Like it's so irritating. And the reverse version is also irritating, where it's like, oh, I had blah blah blah, blah brothers. Like, shut up.
They're an NA gender rolesy thing with.
It's so annoying.
It's the worst. Okay, so then we see we go from this to a village being the Xi'an being attacked and people dying, and we see the guy dying, and then he's like, there are bandits, and then the Grimm came in. And then they like check on him, and then he's dead, and it's all super typical, super typical. Yep.
The really only like different thing about this is like he actually died. Like, oh, we're getting darker. Okay.
I guess. Yeah. I think the main purpose of the scene existing is because this is supposed to be the dark season.
Right.
So, and we kind of haven't been that dark up to this point. So this is like, oh yeah, things are bad.
This is our check. Yeah. This is our check-in about like why we're doing this. It's not just this fun, annoying walk with Jaune. Like we actually have reasons to be out and about.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know. There's not a lot.
I do wonder when we're gonna actually when are we gonna see some Grimm again?
They mention Grimm, but they're not there. So
like it's weird to go like obviously we had a fight in the first episode, but it's kind of weird to go like an episode with like this without seeing Grimm.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be experiencing more Grimm on their like walk in the uninhabited parts of
right. Which also there weren't Grimm like when they showed up, so I wonder if. Like, I guess the Grimm were on a march. Like, this is really weird. I don't know.
I guess so, yeah.
Also, the bandits. Like, what?
Yeah, so let's talk. So the only interesting thing of the scene is Ren, like, looks down and sees, like, this hoof symbol, and then Nora walks over, and they kind of, like, exchange a look, and they're sad. So this is, in an episode with not much to speculate about, this is the big thing I've seen people speculating on. I guess leading theory is that we know Ren and Nora are parentless, like they're orphans. So presumably this is either them seeing the symbol of like a Grimm footprint because Grimm killed their parents, or this is a symbol of the bandits, and then the same bandit tribe killed their parents. So I've seen both of those.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably the bandit tribe.
Yeah, the only thing is it looks like an animal footprint. Like it's hard. It's a little bit hard to. I guess there's not a second one, but it definitely naturally looks like it could just come from a Grimm.
Yeah, like it does. Like, because like we have giant Grimm.
Yeah, but it also could just be like the mark of the bandits thing, which I think, and then actually saw some further speculation, which was kind of out there. If you look at the shape of this and you look at the shape of something in like the intro, you see Tyrion fighting, and he's like a weapon that kind of looks like this. So maybe Tyrion's the leader of the bandit tribe, like that. I think it's a little far-fetched, but that's possible. We could go in a direction like this, and I think connecting Tyrion, who we know is going to show up and try to take RWBY soon.
Well, I mean, I definitely think like that would probably be the best idea, is to tie these all, because right now we have like the Grimm plus like the villains, which, yeah, they're working kind of together, but we know, like, the Grimm just do whatever they want. Like, you can't control the Grimm. That's what last season was all about. Like, that's why that, like, blew up in everyone's face. And so, like, I feel like we should tie it together somehow. Like, I don't know how I feel about having the Grimm and the villains plus, like, some bandit tribe.
Yeah, I'm not interested in random bandit
Also,
tribe.
like, the White Fang. Like, I know they're all together, but the thing is, like, they're all still separate entities.
Right. So we'll see how that could come into play next episode if we want to meet the female White Fang leader, presumably, that we talked about in episode 1. That could happen next episode. So that could be interesting. I'm in favor of tying Tyrion into this plot, but yeah. Random bandit tribe I don't care about. So yeah, that was the scene. Then we have the Weiss's dad, Jock, who we learned is talking to Ironwood. So we bring in Ironwood. What do you think of new bearded, edgy Ironwood?
I mean, it's a cool design. His weird whatever thing at his neck looks awful, but that's fine. That's his style choice. That's okay, I suppose.
I'm a big fan of Ironwood. I don't remember what you thought of Ironwood.
I was just sketched out by him, I think, like the whole season. But
well, yeah. I mean, you're kind of supposed to be, I think. But.
He's fine. I wasn't expecting to see him, so that was like a surprise. Also, like, I was kind of like, that's Ironwood, right? Like, I was like, that's who that is.
He looked different, yeah.
So it took me like half of the scene to like confirm, like, that's Ironwood. Okay.
Yeah, he calls him James, and it's like, that was his first name, right? Yeah, no.
It's like, I was like, I'm really confused, but
yeah. So, this whole thing, context for this, the whole Schnee mansion, of course, in Atlas, and Ironwood is the leader of Atlas. They talk about the council, which is the governing body of each kingdom, and he says he has 2 seats on the council of Atlas. Ironwood, ooh, 2 seats, wow. And he also mentions that he's imposed a ban on dust exports outside of Atlas. So that seems like a big deal. Atlas is the northernmost continent, the small Antarctica one. So that seems bad for the Schnee Dust Company. So I guess that's where that's coming from. This whole conversation was fine. I'm glad to bring Ironwood in again. I was kind of interested that Weiss's dad was not more like, and in the Weiss scene too, he didn't come across like the worst. Like, he was bad, but he wasn't as overtly villainous, I guess, as they could have portrayed him. He
just seems like kind of like Hiroshi Sato-ish, except like.
Yeah, I agree. From Legend of Korra, yeah, I think that's possible.
Like, he seems like. He's not like, I mean, maybe ruthless, like, business guy, but not necessarily, like, evil.
He seems like he wants to work with the council to a certain extent.
Yeah, and it's also just typical, like, dad, like, this archetype, just typical.
Yeah.
He didn't really do anything out of the ordinary, or...
Yeah, I mean, his big villain move with Weiss is to make her sing, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, certainly we're feeling Weiss, and the show portrays it well enough that we know that it's not, well-intentioned or anything, but certainly this was mild, I think, compared to expectations for Weiss's dad.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe he's not that bad. No, he's probably that bad.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. So Weiss talks with her dad.
I just feel like we're gonna go like the typical, like, super rich family, like, distant stuff. Like,
yeah. I mean, we'll talk about this overall in a second. So Weiss's dad wants her to perform at the charity concert. Because we know from I don't know if this has ever been mentioned like on the show, but in the White trailer she sings. So
right.
So now we're going to get back to that, which is interesting, I guess. And it's like, are you asking me? Or are you telling me? That was kind of explicit and very blatant dialogue, but there you go. And so she's not happy, and then she comes out, and there's Klein, who got name dropped like 10 times in this episode. Like, okay, I understand who Klein is now. And Klein seems to be like the sympathetic force towards White in the Schnee mansion, the only one who seems to be looking out for her. Let's take this ask from Anonymous. This is the big discourse with Klein right now. Klein is probably a reference to the 7 dwarves, given that his name translates to the little 7, and he seems to have multiple personalities related to that theme: happy, sneezy, grumpy. Is this just a nod to Weiss being based on Snow White, or is there a larger story theme to this? So this is what I've heard people saying, is that he's like the 7 dwarves in one character. This is very weird.
Yeah. I don't know.
His eyes change color, and he seems to have different personalities. So he does that. But it definitely seems like there's a Seven Dwarfs reference. I never really explicitly thought of Weiss as a Snow White thing.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what's happening. But
I just like her being based on Snow White. Like, makes very little sense in like general. Like, I understand why, but it's like a very like artificial, like stupid reason. So like I don't get, like, it's very
I mean, even if she's not super like based on it, you can still have this kind of Seven Dwarves guy. But I guess in terms of the function, how he functions in the episode, it's just very much like it doesn't blend in with the rest of what's happening. It's just kind of there. Yeah.
Like, well, at first, like, I didn't get it. Like, I'd have to watch it again to like get that, because I was just like, I don't understand.
I wouldn't have thought of the Seven Dwarves thing on my own. He definitely seemed like is changing eye color and like would seem different. So.
Yeah, no, it was just weird. Like, I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know why they have this.
Like, I don't know why we had.
Like I said, I mean, like I said in the early, the purpose I think is to portray like, oh, everything's terrible with Weiss. Oh, but here's probably the only force of good in her childhood. Like I guess that was what that was. But it seems it was very jarring, and that a lot of this episode is kind of just like, here's a thing, here's another thing, here's another thing. Yeah,
it's just like, here's like we're in episode 2 and we're still like expositioning everything.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a second. So we end on this Jaune training scene with so RWBY comes over to watch and sees Jaune training to this video of Pyrrha, and there's fireflies about. I think this is maybe the most gorgeous scene in the show.
Yes.
Like all of the series. It was like super intricately done, like everything production wise, like, post writing on this was incredible. I thought the scene was also finely written, like it was fine, but just executed kind of impeccably. I've been very impressed with the animation and the production execution on the season. I thought that this is an interesting idea to use this video of Pyrrha and have Jaune kind of like we're furthering the Jaune training and like we're furthering the Jaune grief storyline that we got into last week. So I think that this is this was impressive narratively relative to what I expected from them regarding Jaune. So
I do think this is I mean, I thought it was excellent despite how I feel about Jaune and this like narrative, but I mean, it was well executed. I actually like kind of felt for Jaune. Like I was like, oh, this is sad. Also, I was like looking at Pyrrha and I was like, oh, Pyrrha. But I mean, it was good. It's just so hard to care about Jaune. So hard. Though this does give me hope that like they're not going to go this like. Granted, I'm also just like wishful thinking that they're not going to go some Jaune RWBY route. I think this is very much like Jaune is just hung up on Pyrrha, which is fine. We can keep doing this.
Okay, there's like 5 things I need to do. Yeah, okay. First of all is Lancaster Watch 2016, Delaney. This is our big worry going to the season. Would they do Jaune and RWBY? What's your feelings on this after episode 2? You think no?
I think no.
I'm worried, Delaney.
You're worried? I mean, like, I understand. Like, I was worried. Like, I was really worried when she got up. I was like, no. And then, but
like,
then
they didn't do comforting. That was good. But in the scene when they're talking about Jaune's sisters, they're kind of like close to each other and grinning.
Yeah,
they worried me.
I don't want it either. Like, they can be friendly. RWBY's nice.
Honestly, they can kind of do anything and not lose me. Like, I mean, okay, if they killed like Blake or something, that'd be bad. But the one thing I think out of everything that they could do in the series that would completely lose me would be if they put Jaune and RWBY together. Like,
I just couldn't handle it.
They can almost do it. We're kind of at a past point where I care about where the overall mythology. I mean, I care, but like they're kind of just doing what they want. I'm like, whatever, as long as I get to see my faves, like I don't really care. This though, I would go. I would not be able to deal with that. So we'll see if we're doing that. We certainly haven't done it in 2 episodes, but there you go.
Like
okay.
They're like I don't know. Like I really, really, really hope not. But
yeah, we'll see. Second thing, so let's talk about Jaune and his role on the show. So last week we were very critical of him being kind of the lead character. So we called Jaune as like the main character of episode 1, and listener Nightblood 2013 on Tumblr has the hard proof of the screen times, Nightblood has calculated exactly how much time on screen that every character was in these first 2 episodes. So Jaune, first episode, was on screen for 5 minutes, and no other character was on screen for more than 4 and a change. So Jaune, clearly the main character of episode 1, RWBY 3:43, Blake and Yang 0, lol. And we moved to episode 2, and Jaune and Weiss are basically tied for the lead with 3 minutes, 37 and 36 seconds, RWBY at 3 minutes. So they're basically the 3 leads in this episode, Weiss, Jaune, and RWBY. Let's take an ask from patron Andy again, who says, unfortunately, this episode still feels like Jaune is the main character. If this episode had come after an episode where RWBY had done a lot more than everyone else, it would be fine. But coming after a Jaune-centric episode just makes RWBY seem more like supporting cast member to Jaune. Still, they found a way for me to like him, just not have him talk at all. That last scene stands on its own, but probably should have happened last week instead of giving Jaune 2 episodes or more. So I talked about this last week, which was... yes, we really don't want Jaune to be the lead. It kind of makes sense, though, that the first episode after Pierre dying, the Jaune grief episode, might feature him prominently. Now we're doing it again in the second episode.
We're making it a thing, which is
it's understandable.
It's understandable
that it's more
and
than one
it's
episode.
Fine, but the thing
it's just very worrying that this is emblematic of an overall trend, with Jaune being kind of the lead of this team and not RWBY.
The show is called RWBY. We haven't seen Yang or Blake and Jaune. Why?
Yeah, I mean, look at the screen times. Hard proof. Jaune on screen more than RWBY the past 2 episodes. This is not where we want the show to go.
I don't understand. It would if I was confident that they were doing this to give him something and then kill him off or make him go away, I'd be okay, that's fine. We can finish up his arc and send him on his way. But they're not going to do that because we know who voices him. So
who'd be more likely to die, Jaune or RWBY? It's RWBY, right? Jaune is the least likely character to die on the show. Yeah, that's frustrating.
It's really irritating.
Blake, first, not showing Blake and Yang is one thing. I mean, I think we're going to have, related to something like Voltron, where we're going to kind of be frustrated by them separating at the beginning.
But Voltron's going to focus on them at least. We're going to be here's Pidge, here's Shira.
Yeah, we already know what we're doing with Voltron. We're going to have a 2 of them episode, and then the next episode is going to be the other 2. So,
which is fine. But this, we're literally haven't seen Blake and Yang. And the only, maybe you're oh, well, it's only the second episode. Well, in context of last season, we're again, no focus on Blake. It's so irritating.
Yeah, if you isolate the beginning of the season, I think given the story device that they're doing, with this overall got darker and everything blew up kind of thing, I think it's fine in the context of the season. If you throw in the fact that Blake was not even a major character last season, then it's incredibly frustrating. If you throw in what happened, the awful things they did with Yang last season,
it's just in context of the show right now. It's not okay or encouraging.
And even given all that, you can still kind of forgive it if Jaune wasn't the main. If they're focusing on RWBY more, at least okay, we're doing cool RWBY stuff in the beginning, but we're not. She's kind of on screen almost as much as Jaune's episode, but she's not doing anything interesting. She's just there. And her focus is completely surrounded by Jaune. There's nothing that's the other thing. Her activities in this episode, in the first time we see her, she's talking about Jaune and his sisters. The second time we see her, she's watching Jaune and watching his emotional moment. It's nothing involving RWBY. No, it's not about RWBY, and we're not doing anything with her character. She's just there.
It's just the Jaune show right
She
now.
really is just there supporting Jaune, and it's very frustrating. And yes, you can justify it by saying that this is the Jaune grief arc, but that's not what I want to see opening up the season. This is the show about RWBY, and I want to see RWBY doing things.
And I'm sorry,
her.
I don't care about Jaune, and it is in fact the show's fault that I don't care about Jaune. Yes, there are plenty of people who do, but the show has given me I don't care. I don't care.
It's really not just an us thing. It could just be we hate this archetype, and we do. But
yes.
Really, it's half the people who watch the show.
Well, the thing is, the first season, why? He's just this goofy comic relief. All of Team Juniper are just side characters, and then we get I have been given no reason to care about Jaune, and then they're thrusting him into they're making him the main character.
Yeah.
And it's why? This is a horrible idea. I don't care about Jaune. yes, like the only person I cared about on Team Juniper was Para, and they killed her. So like I just like, they haven't done any favors. Like I just
Yeah,
don't know.
I think the only interesting stuff they've done with Jaune for me, like how I'd care about Jaune, is in relation to Pyrrha, and
Right.
that's kind of what they're doing again now. So to a
Well,
certain
I
extent,
thought
this is
this
the
was
best. I actually think this
right.
might be the best Jaune stuff we've ever gotten.
No, like this scene is like an amazing Jaune scene. It's
Yeah.
just like I'm just like I told you, like I almost cared. Like I was like, this is really good. It was beautifully executed. It was great. Like if I cared about Jaune, I would have like felt something. But I don't care about Jaune. And
Yeah.
like it's so like and it's also really weird to watch a show and be like, they're trying to force this on me, like I'm supposed to care right now and I don't. And it's just and as someone who like I watch shows and like I get so invested, like I get upset about stuff all the time. Like and it's just to watch it's just so irritating to watch this. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's basically watching RWBY at this point and I was talking about this with Gurren Prime on the comments for a previous episode. Like, he's like, I don't know if I'm going to stay with the show with like the narratives. Like, it's not good. It's never been good. Like, I don't know if it's holding me. And I'm like, I feel that. But even if the narrative's bad, for me at least, like, even if I just get to see my fave characters like RWBY, Weiss, and to a certain extent Blake and Yang doing like awesome things, and the show's like awesome like music video fight style aesthetic with like its crazy animation and stuff like that, like I'm gonna be satisfied. The problem is you're not giving me any of that here. You're giving me Jaune, and you're not giving like this is pushing the limits, I think, with it.
Like I feel like, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of people like stopped watching at this point, because like even if you do like Jaune, like it's just like, who cares? Like, what is going on?
And remember the context. We're saying this is a fine episode, you know, so it's more of an overall complaint.
It's just like,
yeah,
I'm very concerned for the season.
Let's transition with this to the last thing I want to talk about, which is the fact that we've been so exposition heavy in the beginning of the season. So that's kind of what we're talking about.
This was kind of an issue in the beginning of Volume 3. Was just like, okay, like you're telling me information.
Yeah, I think. So first of all, the show's never great with exposition. I wrote this in my notes about this episode. Is this episode has something that I feel like is very emblematic of the show overall. It's contrite dialogue with vague generalities about the mythology of the show. Like, we're saying typical things in typical ways, and we're using it to establish things about the show which are super vague. The show never. Like, we always like say things about the mythology that assume that we know more than we do, but they never actually tell us enough to like actually understand what's happening. So I feel like this was very, you know, it's just a lot of generalities here. And I don't hate folk, like, so let's talk, I think Weiss is the most emblematic of this. Like, we're just doing all these typical things with Weiss, and like the trapped in the rich, like, you know, dad mansion, like, I think everything they do is like fine, but I guess like, why is this what we're doing? Is this what we should be doing at the beginning of Volume 4? Like, what's going to be the ultimate purpose of this? Where are we going? What is this? Is this for some like Weiss character revitalization? Yeah, last season, one of the best things they did was the Weiss winter development for Weiss. Are we resetting Weiss by putting her here? Is this going to be an overall improvement for her character? Do we need to be focusing on developing Weiss's character at this point, or didn't we do that for the past 3 seasons and she should be in action now? Like, I'm just a little confused as to the placement of this in terms of the overall show. It's
really awkward. Like, we're in season 4, and like, especially given in the intro we see Blake and her parents, like, and we know Yang is with her, you know, her dad, and it's just like, what is going on? Like, is book 4, LOL, is Volume 4 going to be just the family season? Like, it's so weird. And
we're coming off of them blowing everything up, and now we're doing the, you know, the Weiss family exposition. That seems very odd.
Yeah, like it doesn't make a lot of sense, and it just feels like we just wanted to put this information, but we never gave it to you before, so instead we're just going to put it awkwardly in the beginning of the season. And like, what are we doing? Like, the world literally just ended and we're having a charity ball. Okay, what? Like,
yeah, for me, like, you blow everything up. The next thing to do is you take your 4 mains who you've spent all this time developing, and you put them into like a rogue thing against
you send them on the warpath. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what you do. You don't like send some weird mashup of minor characters on your main, and then you put your other 3 leads off. It's really weird to do that.
Well, it doesn't, like, and it's just so, like, I think it's another thing about the mythology is that it's a big weakness in the show that, and I feel like we're going to get a little bit more this season, but like talking about Atlas and Vale, and people think that Vale, like Atlas, like caused what happened in Vale, and it's just like you keep saying words, and we're supposed to care about the words, but like there's nothing behind it. Like I just feel like like I understand there are kingdoms, and then there are like the academies, and there's like everything in between, but I just feel like we haven't gotten a good, like, this is like we're like stepping into Game of Thrones territory a little bit, like the rivalry between the kingdoms and blah 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 and all this stuff in the council and blah blah blah, but like it's just really hard to care about it or be interested or like to understand what's going on because there's like we don't know.
Yeah, they've really just said stuff about the kingdoms, and we've never gotten into detail about it. And now, if we're getting into that with Ironwood and Atlas, that would be interesting. But
like half the time, I forget like all the kingdom names because I'm like,
no, I agree. Like, I had to look up I was like, Atlas. Okay, Atlas is the academy, but the kingdom is also Atlas. Okay, so that's the exception to the rule. I had to look that up.
Beacon is the academy in Vale.
Yeah, no, it's not obvious to me to remember this. I know people will get frustrated with us like not immediately knowing these things, but I also think that these are not on the show's like forefront.
Well, the thing is, like, also, like, I'm sorry, I haven't seen all of the World of Remnants. Oh, I know, people gasping right now. He hasn't watched World of Remnants, but like, like, I'm fine with like auxiliary like things to watch. That's cool. I love it. Like when you get bored and you're like, yeah, I want to watch these other things. But you need to some things you need to present like on screen. Like
we need to put stuff on screen and not in the auxiliary material. Yeah. I have seen all the World of Remnants and I still don't remember all of them. So
so it doesn't matter. Like it's just.
Anyway, this is off topic, but yeah. So I think it's interesting that we're doing this weird family exposition with Weiss, and we'll see what they do with it. If we bring Blake on screen, we'll see. Probably that seems like what we're doing. How mad are you going to be if we finally put Blake on screen next episode and standing next to his son?
I'm going to scream. I'm going to rip my hair out.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that. That's going to be a great podcast.
Every time, like I like clinch before the intro. Like I like when I like right before he appears, I'm just like, no.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. The return of Sun. I'm so hyped for that now. But yeah, hopefully we'll see Blake next episode, and
this is just
When's the next time we're gonna see Weiss?
I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what's going on.
I'd say episode 5, 6.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, how long does it take to organize a charity ball? Our Team RWBY gonna be doing? That's the other thing. Okay, so like we have like this team on the Team Ranger on like this journey, and it's like they're not doing anything. Like, is this like Harry Potter in the extended camping trip? Like, that's what I'm getting right now.
I think we'll eventually. I think like so. Initially, I said by episode 4 we're going to get all of Team RWBY back together. Certainly does not seem like it at this point. It seems like we're getting. We're getting Team Ranger to the next place they're going, and at some point that'll encompass. I still think we're going to get there like episode 6 or maybe 8 or something. We'll get Team RWBY back together, but it seems like we're going to do this like dual thing for a while.
It's going to be very, very slow, and I'm still going to stand by the fact that I don't think that's going to happen. They're just not going to get together.
We'll see. I'm not going to be happy with that, but we'll see. So there you go. Let us know your comments on any of these high-level discussions with the show, or where you think we're going. Predictions for next episode. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see Weiss 50% of the episode coming, but I don't think we'll have. I don't know what we're gonna do. I guess we'll bring Tyrion next episode in.
I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like there's like so much going on, but they never focus on what we want them to focus on. So I don't know. I'd be
surprised if we saw Weiss. I think the most likely character to see next episode is Blake.
But I don't think if we see Blake, I'll cry. But I don't think we're gonna see Blake.
I mean, we have to see her at some point. Like,
do we? I mean, I thought that in Volume 3, but
Yeah, that's a good point. We saw her kind of off screen sometimes.
It's just I don't know. Like, I'm really frustrated with who they're focusing on, and it's just really, really frustrating.
Let us know your predictions for next episode. When will we see Weiss again? When will Team RWBY get back?
When will we see less Jaune? When?
Never. Leave your comments on YouTube. Subscribe to us there on YouTube if you don't want to miss any more discussions. Comments on overlyanimated.com or Tumblr asks, and let us know. We will be back next week for upcoming coverage on Overly Animated. You can check it out at overlyanimated.com or search for the Overly Animated podcast. Like I said, you can consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to our patrons: Mitch Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Shamie, Rachel, John, Ryan, Catherine, Taylor, Devon, Jay, John, Finition, Victoria, and Katrin, aka Fever, Mitch, Connor, Suits, Exchange, Nathan, Fillion, Buzz Lightyear, Mammon, Rachel Rose, Jenny Rubber, Brian Cookette, Needle, Diamond Day, Jewel, Garfield, Fusion, Skylark, Patron, Katrin. Yep. Be back probably next Sunday, and check out our other stuff, our Halloween coverage at overlyanimated.com with random kind of spooky animated shows. And yeah, that's it. Any last things, Delaney?
I don't know. I'm getting nervous.
Nervous for the future of RWBY. Wow, that's the summary of all of our podcasts.
Yes,
on RWBY,
that is what we always end on.
So there you go. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.